podcast waves for the first time, the debut edition of the No Limit Sports Podcast. News 3, Sportsplug 757, Keharee Shuler, Drew Crosby, Dom Gilliam. Guys, thanks a lot. Just the first of many. Really appreciate you being with us and really excited for this project.
Absolutely excited as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, hey, the first thing we're going to talk about, obviously, the NFL draft making the headlines this weekend. The first round is in the books as we're recording this. So let's talk about the Commanders real quick. Many folks' favorite team around the Hampton Roads and beyond here in Virginia and the DMV. Josh Conerly Jr. with that first pick. I want to get your guys' thoughts. Key, we'll start with you. How do you like this pick? Was it for them?
I love it for Jayden Daniels. I'm glad that they starting to build a young line around Jayden Daniels. They're loaded at skill position. They got a lot of free agents, a lot of great free agents. They were already, loaded as a team already. They made it to the NFC Championship. So I think they're just building on the line now.
Yep.
I second that. It's good to have that reinforcement. Young, he's every bit of 6'5", 311. So I think they're going to have a real good chance of having protection for Jayden and that as they grow and evolve and build around him. I think it's going to do really well. Excited for him.
Yes, sir. So it's important in the draft, especially when you have the higher picks or even in the mid rounds to protect your franchise.
Yep.
That's kind of what it starts with, and they have tooled it. They went and did some things. We signed some players. I think Debo Samuel is there now, and so we're looking at like the skill positions. Okay, we know that they're okay there. We see what Jayden Daniels can do, but he does. I feel like he needs to take. He's a gutsy kid, and he takes a lot of hits, and so what we're looking at is just the ability to be able to, stay fresh, to just protect the franchise. This time they got them to the NFC Championship. It's really only one step from here, and just so having those foundational pieces is what's going to be the most important for them kind of going into, the draft and the next season as well.
Dom, I'm glad you brought up protecting Jayden Daniels. He was sacked 47 times last year, 6th most in the NFL. Tell you what, he's going to be a player, right? But you got to keep him upright. So I think this is a good pick. We talk about Conerly. He's a guy that was part of an offensive line that I think only allowed 5 total sacks in 2023. I want to say it might have been 2 total sacks last year. So definitely big, pairing up with Laramie Tunsil, obviously, Brandon Coleman. So, they have some guys there, who I think can really protect him. But you got to keep Daniels upright. That's the key, right?
For sure, absolutely. It's a really good addition. Definitely hearing those numbers as well. I like to see that, the Commanders took charge and, paid attention to what was needed. Just like a lot of other teams early on, it was really good to see a lot of linemen and a lot of great guys go first, go early. So, yeah, it really complements what they're building over there for sure.
Well, and let's talk the running game, too, because I think that might have been a little bit overlooked. They were sneaky good in the running game, right? You have a team here who ranked 3rd in the NFL in rushing. Yeah. Get this, though. They were the only team in the top 11 that did not have a 1,000-yard rusher. Isn't that crazy? Daniels was their leading rusher, but they still averaged 154 yards a game. So it's one of those things where I think, adding that offensive lineman, if he can come in, maybe start right away, we could be looking at a guy that really helps them get over the hump.
Yes, and I believe that draft pick is definitely helpful for Jayden Daniels because the NFC East might have the best D-lines in the whole NFL, especially with Abdul Carter going to New York. You still have Michael Parsons and then the Eagles' defensive line. The Eagles' defensive line, so that was definitely helpful for them.
I'll even go as far as to say is, conventionally we look at these players. Oregon, he would have been in the Pac-10, Pac-12, I guess, Pac-12, but they made a conference change, and with the conference change, the Big Ten has a lot of those. Abdul Carter, who you just mentioned, and it's like he's playing that caliber of defensive end already. He's been seeing those interior, exterior linemen all year, so that kind of grooms you a little bit better. I'm not saying, not to slight the Pac-12, but it's just a different caliber of just edge rushers. You got the Ohio States. Penn State seemingly has somebody they're making in the lab every year. I don't know where they're getting these guys.
The number 11, right?
Yeah. It's a legacy at this point, but it's just it's really big. I thought it was just a lot of thought into the draft pick, and it just made sense. So yes.
Yeah. How about that Big Ten? I have a buddy who's the head baseball coach at Washington, and I said, "Hey man, enjoy those away series at Rutgers that are conference series they have to go to every year." But you were mentioning the Giants, Key, and want to bring that up too. Trade up to 25. They got Carter at 3. Then they trade up to 25, and they take Dart out of Mississippi. What are your guys' thoughts on that pick, going above Sanders, who I think many thought at one point he was projected to go number 3 overall in the entire draft. They trade up in 25 to get a quarterback. In the end, it's not Sanders, it's Dart.
So for me, I mean, I'm a fan of both, by the way.
Right.
And, for me, it was definitely interesting to see that the conversation started to come out as more of why Dart before Sanders and not necessarily just off of Dart, off of his, personal skills. And
he's a mobile quarterback.
His capabilities, right? So one of those things is he's a mobile quarterback, and I think that's one of the things that they hold over Shedor's head, as he has not been able to, I guess, show that on a wide range, at least of how Dart has. Mm-hmm. So for that aspect, I mean, I think it was a good pick. I mean, they have a trend of picking quarterbacks of Dart's nature, and I think that he'll do well there for sure. Mm-hmm. But as to say, towards why he was picked over Shedor and everything like that, I just again, it's just really interesting to me that that's the biggest conversation is the comparison between the two,
right?
As opposed to just why he wasn't in the first round. It's a little mind-boggling, but at the same time, it was a good pick for them, I believe.
Well, and now what are you going to do, right? Are you going to put him behind Russ? Are you going to let him learn a little bit? Mm-hmm. And the Giants, I mean, they've had a history recently here. I mean, I know Daniel Jones had the one good season where the Giants really competed for the playoffs there, but I mean, they are waiting for something to hit. You know what I mean? I feel like it's been since Eli where they've had a consistent winning quarterback. They need something to hit.
For sure.
With them is those those defenses. I think getting back to that defensive side, that grit that won them those Super Bowls is kind of what's going to get them back there. When it comes to Jackson Dart and Shedor Sanders, I feel like Shedor Sanders is a play now type of situation.
Right.
In Jackson Dart, you have a little bit more time to develop. With Shedor, he's probably likely ready. He thought he was going to be a top 3 pick, right? So he's ready to get on the field now. But they did sign the veterans that you just mentioned, and so that gives Jackson Dart the ability to come and learn. That's one. 2, Jackson Dart played in the SEC. We know about SEC ball. We know that's NFL Junior.
Right. AAA, exactly.
He was he had 70% completion rate and had 4,200 yards this year, 29 touchdowns, and only 6 interceptions. So that's saying something playing in that division as well. Maybe it was just something level of competition, Big 12 versus SEC. It might just not have been for them, and that's ultimately they had to choose one. They only had one pick, and so Shedor falls just based off of other teams' needs. Everybody doesn't need a quarterback this high, so
right?
It just naturally happens that way sometimes.
Well, and Dom, I'm glad you brought that up because you guys know. I mean, teams are drafting for their needs, and Mike Green was another one out of Lafayette, right? Mm-hmm. In a lot of mock drafts, he was going 15 to the Falcons, 17 to the Bengals, and the Falcons traded up into the 20s, and they picked Pierce out of Tennessee. Mm-hmm. But not every team needs an edge rusher. That's not their top priority. When Shedor dropped below 9 in that first round when the Saints didn't pick him, they said, hey, 10 to 20, they're not drafting quarterback. Yeah. So that's not a knock on the player. It's something along the lines of hey, teams are drafting in that first round for their needs. The other thing you look at is that position in particular. Man, there's so much that goes into that because whether you like it or not, you are leading a franchise. So I think teams are going to be very picky about who they pick and put there. Both guys are going to be fine, but then you got Shedor, who really, he was sacked so much. I know the criticism of him was, he'll take a sack and not throw the ball away. So, it's all these things, and he's not the first one, don't get me wrong. I think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback, don't get me wrong at all. But all these things that the front offices and GMs have to take into account and think about, there were just so many in that pot that they're trying to figure out, right?
I was saying same thing as Dom. I think it was more of the SEC thing versus Big 12. And, just Dart has beat the Georgias and, just NFL junior teams, just being in the SEC is way more competitive, week in and week out. Him struggling in the SEC versus struggling in Big Ten is completely 2 different, calibers of struggling.
Right.
So, imagine Shedor struggling in the SEC would probably be a lot worse. And it's a lot of pressure playing the SEC. He Dart just lost against teams like Florida. Uh-huh. Teams that were struggling will win a good game in the SEC. So that can be a big thing too. And like you said, I think half the draft was linemen. Last night.
Yep.
So, it's not really a big need for quarterbacks. And Dart also, people forget that Dart coming out of college, both coming out of their sophomore years, they were both first-round grades.
Right.
So, seeing people thinking that it's surprising that Dart came out of the first round is pretty insane when he was projected to be a top 15 pick.
Right.
And maybe he was in question. Actually, he might have been in question with Carson Beck with top 2 at one point. So, yeah, I'm not – I understand the outrage, but, it's it's not really – people shouldn't take it out on Jackson Dart.
Well, I agree with that. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, Drew. Go ahead.
No, I was agreeing. I was just going to say, like, really when going into it is not necessarily always now based off of just the skill. It's the marketability of it and everything that goes into it. So a lot of people, I feel like, are fans of skill from the Shador. The same thing as Dart. And then on the other side, it might be the marketable side of it as well that may have impacted that. But again, it's not against Dart. It's not against Shador or anything like that. It's a need for everybody. And I will say, on another side, just like Dom mentioned earlier, we're in a microwave type of era now. Everything is quick.
Absolutely.
So it's not necessarily us even talking about this. The first conversation is always talking about a quarterback coming in and developing himself now. It's about him coming in and being the star of the show at the beginning.
Well, and I love that you brought that up because I'm kind of amazed at how short the shelf life is at giving a quarterback a try, right?
Yes.
I mean, Bryce Young getting benched when he did. Now, he came back and he took advantage of his second chance. But to me, that's crazy.
Absolutely.
That's crazy. We just talked about it, growing pains, exactly. And some guys are going to warm up. And, I mean, with Baker Mayfield, I think we saw the change of scenery to Tampa Bay really help out, right? But some of these guys are going to bloom a little bit later than others. You got to give them time. I mean, the speed of the NFL game is so much different than college. And don't get me wrong, I know there's a win-now mentality in the NFL, especially among fan bases, right? Yeah. But at the end of the day, I mean, like these quarterbacks are going to come along at different stages. And like you guys were saying about, maybe an SEC program, maybe some quarterbacks come out a little bit more seasoned or well prepared for the NFL, It's
like just a step faster, but it is faster, and it just works out. It normally goes that way. It's just that's how they look at it, just with conferences. And I think Shador's going to get his chance, and I'm excited to see where he'll go because now it's like a mystery, like who's going to take him. But I have my theories of where I think he'll be, but I'm interested to see. We'll get back and see where he ends up. We'll be able to talk about that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just and I wanted to say, just as it was for vets, I'm sure to be the same type of toughness and weight on the shoulders for our new guys that's coming in. They have a lot on their shoulders because it is a win-down type of era that we're in, and people want to see it happen right now. So for those guys, they're looked at and they're compared to guys who have been in the league now for 5-6 years, and until we actually bring up that fact, nobody cares. We want to get the job done, and for fans and people that are not sitting in those seats, we see the money that they receive or just the attention that they have as enough. So just get the job done. But at the end of the day, everybody's human, and these guys need a chance to develop. And it's not that for everybody. I just think that we're in a time now where we're expecting more poster childs than one. So
absolutely.
That's just it.
Yeah, that's a great point, Drew. One more draft thing I want to ask you guys before we move on. Ashton Jeanty started his football career in Chesapeake at Great Bridge Middle School. Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
He goes number 6 overall to the Raiders. Put together one of the most historic seasons we've seen for a college football running back. Second most yards ever gained on the ground behind Barry Sanders at 88. That's pretty good, right?
Yes.
But it's kind of crazy to think that he got his football start in Chesapeake. So and now he's one of the greatest, and he's going to be. I mean, he'll get in there and play right away, right? Chip Kelly, Pete Carroll, run first offense. This is going to be he's going to be licking his chops.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely, and going in the first round, it shows the value that you have, and the chances that that you have of that organization or team leaning on you. First off, I want to definitely shout out Jeanty. I mean, it's just always big to have somebody of his stature, of course, come from our area and put on, and we're really proud of him. We're really proud of what he's doing, and so for Jeanty, I think that. It was destined that he goes early. I didn't really have a take on, the Heisman run or anything like that. I was seeing both sides. I love, what Travis Hunter was putting on and doing, but I definitely think that Jeanty it was worth the controversy.
Right.
It was definitely worth it. And again, I'm just really proud of what he's doing, and I know he's going to be one of the ones that continues to make a name for himself. For sure.
He made it a discussion. I like how you brought that up.
Yeah.
He made it a discussion. He made it a debate. He made it something. So that was pretty cool. So draft, always fun. There'll be debates to the moon. So, we're going to talk about that a lot, I'm sure, in the coming days. We're going to be a weekly podcast, by the way. We're going to come to you every week with the No Limit Sports podcast. Let's move on here to something here that happened kind of in our own backyard here with Michael Vick's first spring game. He's going to have a lot of firsts this season. Got that first spring game off his shoulders. And I still think we're we're all very eager to see how the Spartans do and the green and gold does, when we kick the season off in the fall. But, we got our first glimpse of what we might expect out there this past Saturday. And I'll tell you what, it was a who's who out there of folks who you may recognize, right? Allen Iverson, DB3, the Davis brothers were all out there. Tyrod Taylor. We had a couple political figures out there. And he said, hey, I expect this all season, did Michael Vick. So how excited are you guys for Vick Mania? Because I think it's going to be, at least at the beginning of the season, it's going to be something to see.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's going to be great for our area. I'm just happy that he's there. I'm happy that he's there. It just reminded me of when Deion Sanders was at Colorado, how all the celebrities started coming to every game. I just think these games are definitely going to be sold out. And, hopefully the football part is up to par so with that, which I do think so, with the transfers. 30 transfers came in. And I think it's a lot of talented high schools that's came through that he recruited already that's there. And I'm just excited to see this season.
Well, I'll pass it to you guys in just a second, but along what you were saying, Key, I mean, they're not just transfers. They have FBS guys coming in, Power 5 guys coming in. They have guys who I think already otherwise would not have come to Norfolk State, coming here to play for Michael Vick. So that's going to play a factor in their success, no doubt.
Sure. Vick is for about, since he was at Warwick before then, I'm sure has been just a polarizing presence. And now that polarizing presence is here, we're able to see, it's great to see the community is buying in. His character has always, even in the mistakes he's made, his character has always shown, through that, just really apologetic and continues to learn from the things that he did wrong. And that is somebody that you want to play for, that can admit they made a mistake, can fix it, and say, come on, we're going to do differently. And I just think that just having him here is a big deal. All those political figures are coming, but it's just, for the little guy, Norfolk State, they have the attention now. People are coming and they're giving more to the programs, and that's what you need, especially in the era of NIL. But where you can, you seemingly have to pay players to come play for you. But it's like when you have a person like Michael Vick of his stature, he knows how to win games, and he surrounded himself with the council that he continues, to surround himself with the council. It's just become more and more easy to buy into. So I'm very excited. I was at the press conference when they announced him. I saw who was there, and they continue to support him. Allen Iverson, I was able to you were in the room. We were meeting with him. We were doing the interviews, and he was just sharing, I always saw this with Mike. He was just so proud of him, and he's just like, I think that shows us as a community how to get behind each other, and that's really this is all about, coming back. That's how you give back. Outside of monetarily, like how do you use your character and the resources that you have besides money to give back, and that's just been a big part of it, I believe.
Yeah, a trickle-down example, no doubt. I think there are 3 prongs here, guys. I think one is what we talked about in terms of just, getting players to come here that maybe otherwise wouldn't. 2 is you're going to have, I think you're going to see more money come in, because it's Michael Vick. He's going to have the ability to raise funds and tap into resources they might not otherwise not have. 3, the resources on campus we could see improve too, right? As a result of 1 and 2. So I think the benefit to Norfolk State, and hey, we'll see how long he stays, right? Because I mean, if it's like Deion Sanders, he could get a shot somewhere else at a Power 4 school, 4 or 5, whatever it is now. But for now, I think hey, enjoy the moment, be where your feet are, and see what he can do to for this program, right?
Absolutely, no, it's really big, and they pretty much said most of it. For me, though, I met Vick at a young age. I'm a Hampton native, raised here. For me, I really love what he does. I'm really respect the space that he's in now. He continues to show that it can still be done through all, through any trials, tribulations, anything like that. I don't think that everybody that plays football is going to be or could be a great coach, but for him to come in with the demeanor he's had and the little bit that we've seen thus far, I definitely think that he's in his calling, and being able to show the guys that are working with him, the new guys, and even some of the returners and whoever is just a part of the organization, the staff, all of them, continuing to show them that it can be done, and more importantly, I'm sure that Norfolk State is definitely bought into that as well. Like it can really be done. So we have conversations always about how long he'll stay and how long that'll last. But I think for what he's doing there right now, I believe is going to be able to leave a lasting presence, if that makes sense. So it's going to be good for the Spartans for sure.
Well, and if you saw any of his practices, I mean, he was hey, I'm going to hang back, I'm going to observe. It's not like he was quiet. I mean, he said plenty, but he was definitely more of a take it all in. And so much of this new era, I think, there is going to be him learning his players learning him. We've talked ad nauseum about the transfer portal, both on and off camera here, just about kind of how that's changing college athletics. So, getting that chemistry, I mean, I know it's kind of an overused term in sports. But I think it applies here, right? Because, I mean, he and his staff are learning the guys are learning him, and, they're also they have to be getting used to him. Hey, that's Michael Vick, my coach, not Michael Vick, the legend. He is the legend, of course, but seeing him as your coach, that's got to be a thing too.
Oh, absolutely. And I would just say, I've been around a couple of people, like definitely meeting Michael Vick at a young age. I was actually able to be able to play him in 2004 Madden. Girl Club. And the cool thing about that one, he was on the cover of that one as well. That's a fun fact. And being able to meet Allen Iverson, I was at his camp when I was young. Yeah, they did a lot giving back to the community, so I commend them for that. But the biggest thing is meeting these guys is one thing, and definitely if you're able to, blessed to be around them for a while, it'll start to kind of dissolve a little bit with the starstruck kind of side of it. Yeah. And then instantly, at least for me, I can say personally, you just start wanting to know things. Not in a nosy sense, but if you can get a chance to pick their brain, or just kind of just pay attention to the things that they're paying attention to while you're in that setting and things like that, it's really good. So for them to be able to get over that hump of being starstruck, which I'm sure they probably were or still are, right? Currently, still starstruck. They are now able to open up and ask more questions, and he is able to open up with them as well and be able to, share a lot of more things with them. I'm pretty sure it's a fun process with that over there for sure.
Well, hey, you guys, we're in different age brackets. You guys might not realize that at home. But I got to ask you, when you think of Michael Vick, what's the still shot in your mind? Is he wearing Falcons? Is he wearing Eagles? Is he wearing Virginia Tech? How do you guys remember Michael Vick from growing up in your childhood?
Man, that's a tough question.
Championship game.
Yeah, but Eagles, Falcons.
The championship game with Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech, okay. See, that's where I am too. That's where I am too. I'm Virginia Tech. Yeah.
And I know, Virginia Tech. I'm born in '95, so before that was when I first started watching football. That's probably the first college championship game I had seen. Yeah. And it was just amazing, to know that he was from where I was from, being able to be. It's relatable. It's not like it feels so far like it's not possible.
Right.
Then I began to play football, and we had the number 7. I had friends wore the Vicks. I got a friend that his playing style is like Michael Vick. It's just how much he and both Iverson as well, but how much they just changed the game here. Saw how we looked at it, the way we carry ourselves, the swag on the field, all of it. It's just it's been nice to see. It really has.
What about you guys? How do you remember Michael Vick?
Childhood hero.
Sure. Me, I mean, when I picture him in my head, it's always the Falcons.
Yeah.
Always just supposed to play with the Falcons. But I mean, now, just the first thought is definitely the Eagles. Definitely the Eagles. It comes to my head, that pass to Deshaun Jackson. Just that time period. As a Cowboys fan, that's probably going to be just the closest thing I'm going to think of, quickly, just him in the Eagles uniform. But, yeah, definitely the Falcons. That's him. When you think of Falcons, you think of Michael Vick. But, yeah, just the memory I have of him is definitely the Eagles.
Right.
Man.
Yeah, your turn.
I kind of got two answers if that's okay.
This is our podcast, buddy. We can do whatever we want.
So my first one is I'm gonna go ahead and say it early and just get out there. I'm an Eagles fan. You know what I mean? So I'm
a Cowboys fan.
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
So
this is gonna be a fun. You rubbed it in that you were born in '95, so don't you go patting yourself on the
back. Oh man, and I understand your anger.
So who we got here? Wait, you're Cowboys too, Keith?
Yep.
Yes, Cowboys.
Eagles. Dom?
All Boston sports.
All Boston sports. So we have no Commanders fans here.
My mom, shout out mom, man. She loves her
Okay, there we go.
Commanders. For me, it was really big. He came there and he reached new heights a little bit as far as passing. Just to put a note on that. And of course, the Deshaun Jackson era, LaShawn McCoy. That matchup right there, it was really good, and we did really good things. I wish he would have got a ring there. That's my number one answer, but. My real answer for what I would place for number 2 is really all of them. All of them.
Yeah.
All of them.
A collage of Michael Vick is in your head.
I mean, a notable guy definitely, being under Coach Riemann as a war grader coming out of Newport News. He had some work to do, but they took a chance over there. The Hokies took a chance on him, and I mean, I think it's one of the most historic chances they've taken. And he did really well, and I loved what he put on at an early age, and while we were young at Virginia Tech. Moving on to Atlanta, I mean, changing the game. We can't look over Atlanta where
revolutionized the quarterback position.
Completely changed the game, and it even built him enough of a rapport that even when things went left or right, he was able to continue get back on that horse and continue to build that because of who he was and what he brought to the game. I think that really helped out as well. So I think the whole career for him is notable, and then just to put the icing on top with joining the HBCU and giving back and just bringing that presence around. Yeah, I mean all of them.
Changed a college program as a player, trying to change another one now as a coach. It's going to be fun. Norfolk State kicks off August 28th at home against Towson. It's a Thursday night under the lights. Going to be a fun one. Gentlemen, any final thoughts here today?
See y'all there. I'll be there. I'm in the house.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We're definitely there.
Absolutely. So, hey, we're going to bring this to you guys every week. It's the No Limit Sports Podcast. We got Sportsplug 757. We got WTKR News 3. We're going to be talking about so many things, local, high school, all the way up to pro, that cover here and beyond. So hope you'll join us. You're going to learn a lot about us. You're going to learn a lot about sports. And maybe we'll even make it so we can take some of your questions and get you guys as part of the podcast. We'll see what happens. But for now, Dom, Drew, Key, it's been fun. We're kicked off. Let's get rolling, guys.
Yes, sir. Sounds good.
Thank you. See you next week.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week.